In the near future, the mining spaceship Borealis will fly through space. The entire crew is sleeping in cryopods because they still have 4 years to reach their destination. Suddenly, an asteroid strikes the ship, causing enough damage to sound the alarm. In a pod, Andy is startled awake by a video of his family who are still on Earth. The ship's AI announces a hull breach and activates the survival system. A group of mechanical arms begin constructing a special suit for Andy that includes a limited oxygen supply and its own AI. Then the emergency launch is activated, and all cryopods are ejected from the Borealis. The majority of them fly away safely, but a few are caught in the fire as small explosions erupt on various sections of the spaceship. The robot arms finish building a helmet around Andy's head before the cryopods fire their thrusters. However, when they enter the atmosphere of the nearest planet, the gravitational pull is so strong that the cryopods begin to fall at a dangerous speed. Some even catch fire and explode as they fall. Andy's pod opens its wings, but they begin to break, and the pod loses its thrusters. Suddenly, it collides with some elevated terrain and crashes, sliding down the hard land for a few seconds before coming to a stop against a dirt pile. An unconscious Andy has a brief vision of his family before waking up, and the AI believes he is having a heart attack. But Andy deactivates the defibrillator just in time. He looks out the window and realizes he's in a desolate land. When he tries the radio, no one answers. Suddenly, the pod moves, and the AI explains that they are on unstable terrain and must leave. However, when he attempts to open the pinhole, nothing occurs. Andy then checks his survival kit, only to discover that he does not have a flare gun due to his low rank. Kicking the door doesn't work either, so Andy tries the fire extinguisher, which eventually breaks the glass. As he attempts to exit, the pod rolls on its side, and he falls back inside. The broken glass damages his suit and causes him to lose oxygen. Fortunately, he has a repair spray that can quickly close the tear. At that point, the engine short circuits and starts a small fire behind the seat. Andy rushes to grab his son's toy and move some dirt to finally escape the pod, which is now engulfed in smoke. He looks around and notices the Borealis on fire, falling from the sky until it crashes into the planet, causing a massive explosion. The resulting shockwave hits Andy and causes him to fall. He recovers quickly and asks the AI for some information, discovering that the ship only made it halfway through the journey and that he is in uncharted territory. Andy notices a light in the distance and begins to make his way there while trying to contact others via radio. After walking for a while, he discovers half of the Borealis on fire in a pod nearby. He goes inside to get the oxygen tank and is startled by the falling body of a fellow crew member. When he takes a closer look, he discovers that the oxygen tank is broken. Andy then walks away without noticing the blood and slashes on top of the pod. Minutes later, Andy discovers a swarm of SOS lights surrounded by a powerful wind. Dwayne has set this up, and he has already retrieved some equipment and is considering using the meat from the bodies for food. He looked at the nav log before the crash and discovered that the company took a shortcut through an asteroid belt to save fuel, which is why they are in an unknown location. Dwayne is attempting to use the equipment to send an SOS message to Earth, which will take 8 months to arrive. If the rescuers use a fast ship, they will arrive in around 2 years. Andy is losing hope, but Dwayne points out that they could find a way to survive in the other half of the Borealis. When Andy takes a step back, he unplugs the machine by accident and then returns to fix it. At that point, a mysterious creature jumps in and captures Dwayne, disappearing without a trace. When Andy finally turns around, he is alone. After sending the message to Earth, Andy takes Dwayne's gun, and the AI reminds him that his oxygen levels are low. Andy asks it to plot a route to the largest Borealis piece and begins walking while constantly checking the radio for other survivors. He eventually reaches the edge of a cliff, and the AI admits that its system isn't working properly. He thinks about his family and screams in frustration until he hears a noise on the radio. Another survivor named Naomi. The signal is poor, so Andy runs around until he can hear her clearly. Naomi is stuck in her pod and has searched for the crew's trackers, but she, Andy, and Dwayne are the only ones who have survived. She sends Andy her location, but the AI warns him that the area is unstable, and Andy may not have enough oxygen to get there. Andy is hesitant to take such a risk, but Naomi persuades him by pointing out that she has enough oxygen for both of them. For the next few hours, Andy does nothing but walk and talk with Naomi. Andy suddenly hears a strange noise and asks his AI to scan the area, but the function does not work. When Naomi hears the model's name, she confirms that AI is supposed to be phased out, and that this is yet another cost-cutting measure taken at the expense of the crew's safety. It's now dark, and Andy must exercise caution while walking because his helmet lights aren't very bright. He freezes when he thinks he sees something, but then blames it on his imagination and continues on. Seconds later, he notices rocks rolling near his feet and becomes concerned because there are more noises, despite not seeing a shadow watching him from above. At that point, he discovers strange holes in the ground and follows them until he reaches a larger hole covered in cobwebs, which leads him to realize the small holes are paw prints. Andy panics and continues to walk as quickly as possible, noticing more and more cobwebs in the area. Soon, it starts snowing, and Andy notices that the noises sound more like growling. Something big runs nearby, and Andy quickly hides while turning off his helmet lights. Naomi is surprised because her scanner detects a swarm of crew trackers approaching him, but none of them are responding. Andy connects the AI to those trackers, and the signals appear around him at the same time Naomi claims they are right in front of him, but he can not see anything. A flare is shot into the air, revealing a massive spider nearby. It ate the crew, so it has the trackers in its stomach. Because Dwayne's gun isn't working, Andy screams and starts running, only for the spider to jump on him. He falls into a crack in the ground, and when he looks up, he sees the creature trying to reach inside. Andy, terrified, continues to run as the spider follows him from above, occasionally reaching in to slash him. Thankfully, Andy avoids all of the attacks. However, he is distracted by the monster and falls off a cliff. Rolling down at such a high speed is painful, but at least the snow softens his landing. The spider roars at him from above, but does not come down. Andy continues to freak out after such an experience, and Naomi interrupts him to point out that his oxygen levels are dropping. The fall has caused another tear in his suit, so Andy rushes to seal it with spray. He closes it off with all of his remaining spray. At that point, Dwayne's voice appears on the radio, pleading for assistance because he is fighting off a swarm of spiders. Naomi believes Andy should assist him, but Andy does not want to fight monsters, and his scanner is not even working properly. However, he changes his mind when Naomi mentions that Dwayne will have oxygen. As Andy runs through the crashed pods, he notices Dwayne's flares and follows them until he finds him. Dwayne is about to reveal the monster's weakness when the spider jumps on him again, forcing Andy to hide and listen on the radio as Dwayne is killed. He flees to hide behind a different pod, hoping to escape, only to discover a second monster nearby, also feeding on bodies. Naomi activates the AI voice and lights in one of the pods, distracting one of the spiders and allowing Andy to escape and hide inside another pod. Naomi then tries to activate a different pod to distract the other creature, but she accidentally turns on Andy's lights, startling him with a body. Fortunately, she manages to activate all of the other pods, and now that both spiders are distracted, Andy can finally flee. Soon the monsters realize they have been duped and begin following him, only to freeze when Andy enters a foggy area. Andy tells Naomi to find a safe place after the spiders leave, but Naomi is unable to feel her legs. She's having a panic attack, so Andy sings a song he used to sing for his son to help her relax. He then continues on and comes across a swarm of fireflies, whose lights create a stunning scene. One lands on his helmet and quickly turns red, ready to attack him. It can't do much damage on its own, but the other fireflies quickly turn red and attack him together. Simply running away is enough to leave them behind, but a growling sound indicates that the fireflies were scared of something else. Suddenly, the ground opens, and a monster's massive mouth emerges to capture Andy, covering him in a nasty substance that keeps him frozen in place. Andy is slowly swallowed until he is completely inside the beast's mouth. Andy, remembering the AI, announces that he is having a heart attack. The defibrillator is activated, and the resulting electric shock causes the monster to spit out Andy. Andy flees inside what appears to be a tree trunk as the creature becomes increasingly enraged and pursues him. Andy fell through a hole in the ground and ended up in a firefly nest. The little aliens immediately turn red and begin poking him as he runs, only leaving him alone once he exits the tunnel. Afterward, the AI informs Andy that his current oxygen level will be sufficient to reach the Borealis but unlikely to reach Naomi, who also believes he should go to the ship. Andy refuses to give up and continues running in her direction. He soon finds himself surrounded by flames from the crash, and he collapses due to difficulty breathing. Andy musters the strength to move forward and eventually finds Naomi in her pod. She immediately opens the door to let him in, and he can breathe comfortably again. Next, he tries to get her leg out, but his hands aren't strong enough. Fortunately, because she's higher ranked, her emergency kit contains a variety of tools, and Andy can use one to free her. Naomi feels some pain, but her leg is not broken. After taking a moment to rest, the duo grabs the flare gun and repair spray and heads out. Naomi struggles to walk due to the pain, so Andy creates a splint to help her. While Naomi examines Dwayne's gun, A swarm of spiders gradually surrounds them. The duo immediately begins running, with Naomi repeatedly asking her suit AI to inject her with medicine to keep her leg moving. As the spiders chase them, Naomi and Andy reach the other half of the Borealis, which appears to be in good condition. The duo continues to run, and Naomi falls, so Andy helps her slide down to speed up. The spiders are already preparing to jump, and the duo keeps pushing the crash debris to block the way behind them, only to fall themselves. When a spider is about to attack them, Naomi fires a flare, prompting the monster to flee. She shoots a second one to distract the other spiders, and they can now continue running up the hill until they reach the Borealis. Naomi is having trouble with the control panel, and the spiders are approaching, but when one is about to enter, she finally turns it off, and the door kills the creature. The other spiders begin pounding on the door, and Naomi and Andy go to investigate. There is a lot of damage, but the lights work, indicating that the backup generator is functional. The cargo hold contains boxes of supplies and a stabilized atmosphere, so they should be able to survive until help arrives. A trail of blood leads them down a corridor until they arrive at the main console, which is covered in guts and cobwebs. When the duo notices a large spider enter and open its stomach, dropping more human parts and even a helmet, they hide. Andy feels sick and forces himself to swallow the vomit. Fortunately, the spider flees without seeing them, and the duo attempts to move. But an opening in the ceiling allows an even larger monster to emerge. Andy immediately closes the door for safety, but Naomi scolds him, explaining that they are now trapped in an airlock. As the spider starts pounding on the right door, Andy hits the left one with a tool, but it's ineffective. They can only give up and sit, waiting for the end. Andy shows Naomi a video of his family and tells her that they died in a car accident, and he is now dealing with survivor guilt because he was driving. Naomi scolds him again, reminding him that she is alive because of him. Naomi and Andy hug, thinking they were about to die, but Naomi discovers an orb full of fireflies stuck to Andy's suit. When the spider finally breaks in, they throw the orb at it, and the fireflies immediately attack the creature, forcing it to retreat. The duo presses a button on the main panel to open the other door and rushes toward the cargo bay, only to come to a halt when they realize they're on an elevated platform. The spider successfully removes the fireflies from its body and pursues the humans, who are unable to close the door. They jump off the platform to avoid the attack, and the spider lands on the cargo bay alongside them. It quickly recovers and pursues them again, so Andy throws his spray directly into its mouth. The monster bites it, and the spray explodes on its face, giving the duo a chance to escape. The spider then runs on the ceiling to get closer to the humans before jumping to land right behind them. They both fall, but Naomi gets up quickly and runs to make the monster chase her, telling Andy he needs to figure out how to kill it. When Andy notices that there are still pods in the cargo bay, he asks his AI to find a working one, which is located at the top. Andy rushes to the last line of pods, reaching the top platform just as Naomi is struck by the spider. Then Andy turns off the lights, allowing Naomi to climb inside a box without being noticed. In that box, she discovers some emergency lights. When Andy attempts to eject the plane, the AI explains that it cannot be done because he turned off the power, so his only option is to do it manually from inside. Andy enters the pod and connects his AI to it, while Naomi emerges from the box, the lights encircling her body, prompting the spider to pursue her again. Andy bids his AI farewell while admiring his son's toy and waits for the appropriate moment to eject the pod. Andy recalls the car crash just before the pod crashes on top of the monster, killing it. Naomi runs to Andy's body crying because she believes he is dead, but after much pleading on her part, Andy wakes up perfectly alive and well. The couple then walks to the window and gazes at the beautiful sunrise while holding hands.